Good morning guys and welcome back to Damo Drives, bringing real reviews to real people and answering some of those questions other channels might not talk about. Before we get going, I want to talk about this car. This is an original Fiat 500, but it's been electrified. It's a stunning looking car. The owner is actually in London, but he's had issues with speed bumps because it's quite a heavy car, even though it's really, really small. But here at HPC, they're looking after it for him. I love that. But we're here to talk about this rather stunning, you'll hear me say that a lot, gorgeous, fantastic looking Alfa Romeo Duetto Spider. Now the name Duetto came from a competition that 100,000 people entered and they chose Duetto, meaning dual. Unfortunately, due to copyright, they couldn't call it that, so it's simply known as the Alfa Romeo 1600 Spider. Shorter name, but doesn't detract from what a good looking car this is. I'm really looking forward to taking this out. We've got some gorgeous roads around here, the weather's lovely, and the top is down. Now, interestingly, when this was launched back in 1966, the press team, as it was at the time, didn't do things by halves. They actually hired a cruise ship. 1,300 VIP guests went on that cruise ship from New York across to Italy and had 3 of these cars on board. That is certainly going the full hog when it comes to pushing your car. Steve McQueen drove this and he said it was a great handling car and looked beautiful. Dustin Hoffman drove this in The Graduate, and that is where it really did take off, and everyone rich and famous wanted to be seen in this car. I'm not surprised. I am not rich or famous, but now in 2021 I get to drive this car. I feel very honoured, and thanks to HPC Classics, where this thing is actually for sale, so give them a ring if you do want to buy it. I'd love to buy it, but it's a little bit out of my price range. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this outside. Miles, who's the sales manager here, he's going to drive it first. We're going to have a good chat with him because he knows everything classic. Then I'm going to get to drive it. So let's take this car outside and you'll join me in a minute. So this is my first time in an Alfa Romeo. What a way to start, really.
So you've never been in any Alfa Romeo before?
No.
Well, they don't come much better than this. 105 series cars are phenomenal. I mean, build quality wise, don't listen to any of that Italian stuff that people tell you. They're actually fantastic. This particular car, you will notice the brake squeak because they're all brand new. So don't take that as a read that they'll all do the same. Their throttle response is absolutely astounding. It's so delicate and precise. 5-speed gearboxes are standard even in the little 1300 Juniors, which I've owned one before. Discs all round, limited slip diffs in the 1600 GTVs
wow.
and things. So they were pretty. Oh, and the engines are all twin cams. Alfa started using twin cam engines in the 1950s. So they developed really, really good engines. Small displacement because of emissions laws and rules and regulations in Italy.
Even back then?
Yeah, oh yes. So there was even in the 80s, during the sort of period of austerity, they were sort of governed by 2-litre rule, really. So that's why there's a lot of low displacement Italian cars that have got really fizzy engines. So I mean, like the little 1300 GT Juniors, 1600 GTVs, punch way above their weight for displacement. Obviously the twin cams help, normally Weber carburetted. So they're great little engines. You'll notice the induction noise on this is fantastic. Very well known.
Twin Webers on there, so it looks gorgeous under them.
For a tiny little engine.
It is, yeah, it looks gorgeous under them. We had a look, it's absolutely immaculate. Absolutely immaculate.
Things.
like a piece of artwork, isn't it?
Well, this one's been exceptionally well kept. So it's been in a collection with a Ferrari 250 GTO. If ever there was supercar royalty, that's it. So it was owned by a very wealthy American collector, and yeah, it's been very well loved. It's never been restored, just been looked after to the nth degree. So yeah.
And how much did you spend? 22,000?
About, well, I think it's actually closer to 24,000, adding it up in the
Wow.
last 4 years. So yeah, you'd be hard pushed to find a better one.
That's a lot of love.
Yeah, I mean every last nut, bolt, washer has to be completely and utterly correct, and this car is that good. So very, very good machine. Hard push to find anything that's quite kept to this level.
Yeah, oh, it's
So-
lovely in here, and it's the, well, I would say old-fashioned radio, but that's the period
That is.
radio. That is what
That's
we
what-
used to have.
What it came with, yeah. So
So I couldn't see anywhere to plug my iPhone into.
no,
The stereo, so-
no Bluetooth here, I'm afraid. Just the heady noises of a twin cam and an Alphaholics exhaust. So
It's beautiful.
wonderful little thing. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. But the throttle response for me, that and the gear change is glorious. Not only was it a posh thing having a 5-speed box, it actually is so smooth. They're a joy to drive.
And we've got the optional extra, the smokers pack, as
All
they
the
call
smokers
it.
pack. I think it was only available in 1967. Two of the cars that we've sold, the Alfa 105 Coupes, have actually had the smokers pack.
So it's just a cigarette lighter and a ashtray.
Yeah, big ballers. It's got, and the way it's put on always makes me chuckle as well, because it is literally just a
There's a
screw.
little screw.
Um,
Everything else is so wonderfully put together, designed by Pininfarina. The
It's
bodywork is
beautiful,
stunning,
yeah.
and
then
then
you've just got that little afterthought chuck there. But that's part of its appeal, I think. It's that's its Italian nature.
I could imagine just cruising down to the Riviera in this thing across the Alps.
It's
Just
exactly what it's designed for.
we're in Eastbourne, so I
Yeah.
suppose it's the southeast Riviera, possibly almost.
Costa del Eastbourne.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as close as we're going to get, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to go down here and to the ferry, turn left, and keep going for a couple of thousand miles, and we'll
Just
be
a
a
little way, yeah.
bit of a detour.
My dream is hit something like Lake Garda in a car like this. We'll just hear the noise of that twin cam just bouncing off the hills. It'll be wonderful. Stop at a vineyard.
Oh,
This car has been treated to the Alphaholics, suspension upgrades, brake upgrades, you name it. So it actually handles really well. The engine's had cylinder head rebuilds, upgraded camshafts, it's been
a lot.
polished and flowed, yeah.
Wow.
It's been very, very well looked after, so it does drive well. Yeah, if you wanted the ultimate duetto, this is probably
This is it. And how much is it up for?
Um,
Dare I ask?
Nearly 60, so it's more than most duettos. We've actually reduced it a little bit because the owner and serial Alfa Romeo collector has decided he's got his eye on something else and wants to get it manoeuvred really.
Yeah.
So I mean, if somebody's looking for a duetto, this is the best one you'll find. I've looked at cars that have been dubbed as concours cars, which they just haven't been. They're missing the attention to detail this car's had. Even the headlamps or the headlamp covers are original new old stock, which
really?
must have taken
Wow.
some finding. So cost has been absolutely no object in making sure this car is perfect.
Which is good when someone loves the car that much and you keep it in.
Well, that's it.
This
It,
sort of
it makes
condition.
my life easy trying to sell a car that is literally perfect. Besides the brakes bedding in and the squeak going away, there isn't anything that I would say this car needs. It is absolutely as good as you'll find. So, perfection is hard to beat.
I like the way the gear stick it's completely different. I thought it was broken. It's like, why is that gear stuck at that angle? It's like,
Yeah.
well,
so,
it's supposed to be.
Yep. There's the modern version of an Italian supercar back there. The,
Urus.
yes, a Lamborghini Anus or whatever you'd like to call it. say I'm not a fan would be an understatement, but you know,
I wouldn't have guessed that.
each to their own. Yes, money doesn't buy class, is what
No.
I suppose the way I'd suggest it. If I was going to have a Lambo, it'd have to be screaming. Hopefully a V12. Definitely rear-wheel drive only. The type that'd want to kill you.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. This is the Costa del Eastbourne now. We've got the sea,
Yeah.
the pier. We could
And
almost
the sun shines.
exactly, which is unusual for now.
Weather's being kind to us. Well, it wasn't very kind this summer, was it? So we kind of deserve it, really.
Yeah.
So-
I don't mind. It can tip it down as long as I'm not reviewing cars and sharing the experience with everyone.
Well, I don't mind as long as there's a roof on.
Ah.
Wouldn't be so much fun today. So. Yeah, you're lucky for this being your first drive in an Alpha. Normally, all the synchros are gone, and you really struggle finding second gear. Or second gear will crunch, especially in one of these.
Good old choke
one-
as well, though.
this one doesn't.
That will be confusing some of my younger audience.
I'm actually playing with the so there's choke and accelerator here as well, so it can just sort of balance it at idle for you.
Choke and
until it's up.
accelerator.
Yeah, so you can control both. So
Oh.
this kind of could be taken as an early cruise control, so I can take my foot off.
Oh wow.
So when you're in top gear, you can pull that out. It's not really what it's supposed to be used for. It's for when you start the car and you leave it
Yeah.
running to get up to temperature before you take it off the drive. As with all, Weber carburetted cars, they want warming up really before you drive them. I mean, this you can still feel it's got a few flat spots because it's not up to temp yet. But once they are up to temperature, they're lovely. But yeah, the idea is that you can get the car warmed up on the driveway first. But yeah, a lot of people will use it once you're in fifth. I mean, it's got a good cruising gear as it is. Most cars didn't have a fifth then. But yeah, knock it into fifth and you can pull that up just to kind of set your speed. Your accelerator's being pulled, you haven't got the choke on because they're separate items. Again, nicely, I think they're forged and then polished bits of aluminium, so they're even lovely to pull and they're smooth in activation. They're just everything's beautiful
So much
in these cars.
chrome, isn't there? Everywhere we look on the outside, is sort of around the lights, around the bag, there's chrome bits
It
in
was
here.
built with passion and love, which is
Oh.
what Italian cars are about. to me.
Yes.
No offence to the Eurosona back there, but that's an Audi on stilts with a silly body kit, and that's not an Italian car. I'm afraid this is. So it may have an Italian exterior and design, but it's not a fully Italian machine. Whereas this is. I mean, if you look at the sump or the rocker cover, everything is designed to look nice. You didn't have to. The Germans didn't.
No,
That's what the
efficient,
Italians did. Yeah, everything had to be aesthetically pleasing.
which is good for us.
Yeah, and that's why they're such classics.
Wow, and that's a 1600. I will use the,
And you can feel the handling kit. It doesn't really roll anywhere near as much as perhaps a car of this age should.
what? Oh, nice smell of fuel as well.
Yeah. So it probably is a little bit quicker than you were expecting, I think.
Yes, a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, having driven the Healey, was that about a month ago, I thought it'd be like that, and
Yeah,
different
it's
kettle of fish.
Totally different. Another 10 years on, it's a big difference. That and this, I mean, the Healey had a lot of work too, to be fair, but that engine was pretty archaic, that 4-cylinder, whereas this, twin overhead cam was really it was a work of art anyway.
Sounds lovely.
It's hard to beat that induction roar. An Alpha does just make a phenomenal noise.
What tyre has this got? Your standard tyre, has it got radials on it? Like the Healey.
This has got radials, but they're a more modern take, shall we say. So they've got a little bit more support in them. But I think the classic Alpha handling kit makes a big difference on how well the car performs. As you'll see, it takes the corners with alacrity, shall we say.
That's lot quicker than I thought. And it sounds awesome.
They're wonderful, wonderful cars. They're a joy to drive. Whether you're going fast or slow, they're really, really enjoyable.
Having driven a TVR recently, that was completely different, brutish type of thing. We step into this, and yeah, like we said, it's the Riviera. Just cruising around. I think we look good down there. We should take a detour.
It wouldn't matter where you went, you'd look good in there.
Yeah, it's just we look good at it.
But when it's on cam, it starts to make a wonderful, wonderful noise. It pulls really nice. Yeah, very impressive car for its day, and it feels so stable and supportive on the road. You don't at any point feel flustered. Pop it into fifth, and it's just ever so chilled.
Isn't it? It's just wafting along.
Smooth as a baby's bottom.
Bit of a breeze, but
yeah, a little bit. You hear the wind whistling.
Glad I'm not much taller, because I'd be peeking over the top otherwise.
Yeah, I did have an Austin Healey Sprite Mark II when I was younger, and you end up just looking above the windscreen.
Yeah.
They're not designed for tall people, whereas these have actually got a fair amount of room in them, as does the TVR.
Very comfortable. At least, obviously not the most supportive, but
I mean, considering this is on stiff and hardened suspension compared to how they came out of the factory, they were not only boat tail by name but boat tail by nature. They were
particularly wallowy and
they were relatively wallowy, yeah. Not so much of a driver's car, shall we say? But as this is, it's much more entertaining. Much more entertaining. Shall we?
Yeah, let's pull over and I'll
have a go.
take the keys or the wheel. Well, and take all of it as opposed to just the wheels and the keys. That wouldn't be going.
Yours.
Oh God, it's the wrong way around, isn't it?
Everything's the wrong way around. Well, apart from the pedals, they're the right way around.
Oh, good. At least the gears are in the right place.
Yeah, they're all in the normal places. So you'll find the gearbox is smooth as butter.
Yeah.
And the throttle response is, I don't know, is special.
Right. So we're off. And
your first ever trip in an Alfa.
Exactly.
You will want revs because they're not torquey. You're all good.
Right. And we're off. Being on the wrong side of the road. Going back to that view again.
That's horrible, isn't it?
Disgusting view.
I don't know how we cope doing this job. Do you?
It's terrible, isn't it? It's a bit weird being over here.
Being on the wrong side.
Yeah.
So you're pretty fine. I mean, the brakes still need bedding in. They'll be a lot better than those on the Healey.
Yeah, I just need to get used to them.
As is the gearbox, because obviously the gearbox on the Healey went backwards. At least you're in the right seat that time.
Yeah.
But this gearbox is so buttery smooth.
It's the brakes I'm finding that are different. Having just been in the TVR with some of the best brakes I've ever had.
Yeah, the AP Racing 4-pots are mighty at the very minimum.
Yeah, this is a bit different, but ooh, that's like, I see what you mean about the gear shift. That is so smooth.
It is smooth, isn't it? Wonderfully so.
Wowee. I'm definitely drifting over the wrong side of the road, but
yeah, it takes a little while to get used to driving left-hand drive on this.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever driven a left-hand drive in the UK. Having just come back from Tenerife, it was left-hand drive on the right-hand side, so that was fine. This is a bit...
It is a bit weird. It takes getting used to. The first long trip I did in a left-hand drive car was in the UK. Was when we collected the Lancia that we were on Bangers and Cash with. And it was a dark, rainy night. Couldn't see a thing. The lights were like candles. The guy that we bought it from didn't tell us where the fans were or anything like that.
Oh, jeez.
I was trying to demist it whilst driving. Literally couldn't see a thing. It was horrible. Really nasty experience. So today, having perfectly clear visibility and everything is probably somewhat of a help.
You don't need to be driving this quickly at all. I mean, yes, it will do a lot more, but you don't need to. It's going back to that Healy thing, wasn't it, when we had it? You don't need to drive quickly
To enjoy it, no.
Steering wheel's slightly unique. Looks cool, but it's sort of, it's so thin.
Well,
because I'm going to break it.
A lot of classic cars like that. So that's literally just a steel rim with, I think, what's known as a Bakelite finish.
Yeah.
Again, if you were flat chat around the track, this were a wooden steering wheel like the Healy. It's so delicate that you can literally hold it with 2 fingers or 1 finger and your thumb and know everything that's going on within the car.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a form of feedback that you don't get in a modern car. You've got a big, thick wheel, and even that, essentially, it's all suspension that takes away some form of feedback in the car.
Yeah, you need to jump on the brakes a bit earlier than
the TBR, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so they're not quite bedded in yet, so they could definitely do with a few hard stops for you to help them out slightly.
I see what you mean about this gear change. It's lovely.
Glorious, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the throttle response too is just beautiful.
So it definitely needs working a bit harder. It doesn't like being in a lower gear
No.
or a higher gear than I should have been in there.
Yeah, they like revs, Alphas. They really like revs.
Very compliant. This road is particularly bad for
It's really rough, isn't it?
unsettled things, but it's doing very well.
The car is impressive.
Not sure if I should be double clutching on this, but
Not into second sometimes. If you're really going for it and you're going to go to second in high revs,
yeah.
this is particularly well put together, as you'd imagine, with this car. So this gearbox feels fine. But almost every 105 coupe will want a double D clutch and rev match to bring it into gear smooth.
That sounds lovely when you're up there a bit more. That was a bit cheeky around that corner, you could feel it.
Yeah,
It wasn't slipping, it was just,
yeah.
just at a nice level of, you think, oh, I could push this a bit harder, a bit harder, a bit harder.
They're very, very good cars.
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo did a good job of making them ahead of their time. You know, so technically they were way ahead of the Germans. As much as nobody likes to admit it, they did a bloody good job. They're brilliant cars.
It's amazing the fact you said it's got disc brakes for a car in 1966.
Discs all round, yeah, limited slip diffs, 5-speed boxes, twin cam engines, you name it, the list goes on. They were really, really smart. They're good compared to a German car. When you compare them to an English car,
Yeah.
they're on another level. That and the fit and finish, you know, the interior is a really nice place to be.
I love this cut,
Even
you know,
today.
splash of colour across there. Where's the indicators gone?
In fact, the gauges are all facing towards you.
Is that the indicators?
Yeah, that's the indicator, yeah. The indicators definitely have some of that fabled Italian build quality to them. Bless them. But
Don't know what's going.
yeah, it doesn't sort of, you've got to push it up there and kind of hope and hold it. That's anyway.
Why has it turned itself off? I don't even know if it's. The smell of fumes, although they're quite.
I think you're all good.
Love these little wing mirrors as well. Proper wing mirrors.
Yeah, on the wing.
Yeah.
Where they got their name from.
Yeah.
Modern ones should be called door mirrors.
Yeah. Oh. And just up cruising speed now and just waft along.
Super smooth.
Yeah, very smooth, isn't it?
Again, most cars from the 60s were nowhere near this smooth. Great suspension. And again, you've got a lot of sidewall on the tyre, which all the old cars have. If you've got nice new tyres like this has on it, they are so compliant. A lot of old cars have got really old tyres on them because they hardly get used.
Because they are old as well.
And they're
aren't
rock solid, yeah. So even though they've still got loads of mileage left in them, they're not perished, etc. They end up rock solid. But this has got a nice fresh set of tyres.
I suppose the technology in tyres has probably come on an awful lot.
Just a touch, yeah. Well, in everything. But yeah, tyres massively too.
I'm not a fan of this.
The indicator's kind of, I don't think people only use the horn in Italy. They don't indicate anyway.
It's got a mind of its own. It's like, well, I don't know if you know. It's like as thin as a matchstick, that thing. It's like.
You should try the old Healy. They've got, it literally is a cocktail stick here with an olive on the end, and you move it that way for right and that way for left, and it just, when the little retainer sort of spring goes in, then you go around a corner and it'll indicate the opposite way for you all the time.
You just scare the people behind you wanting to know what's going on.
It just flops about.
Well, this has been an awesome experience. My first ever Alfa Romeo. I'm not sure you could get much better than this, really. So thank you very much for letting me drive the car.
Our pleasure.
It's been great. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have driving it. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, give me a thumbs down. But if you give me a thumbs down, tell me why. I'd love to know what you think of this car. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.